John and Wes were great. I approached them when I was just thinking about selling my office, and they led me through everything from start to finish, figuring out what it was worth. We had a buyer, and they worked with me and the buyer, kind of both sides of the deal, which worked out great. It eliminated a lot of time and wasted efforts, duplicated efforts. It was a good experience from start to finish. Well, what was cool about John and Wes was that there's two of them. So John's background is in commercial real estate, so he gets everything about leases or buying or selling property. And then Wes is a CPA, so he gets everything about the dollars and the cents and how to make the books look right and what goodwill actually means. I actually learned a bunch of new terms during this transaction. I didn't exactly understand how to evaluate my equipment versus my corporate goodwill, my personal goodwill. In fact, I didn't get any of that. So it's kind of nice. And when we sat down at the table with John and Wes and myself and the buyer, it was a really nice back and forth where even John and Wes were back and forth figuring things out. And it allowed us to talk it all out and arrive at a good transaction, arrive at a good conclusion, rather than having to be back and forth on the phone and sending emails. We just sat there and banged it all out in pretty much 1 or 2 meetings. What was nice is when I did have a question or I did wonder about something, I would just text one of those guys, and they were great. They'd text me back in the evening. I'd say, sorry to bother you on a Saturday, but you can respond on Monday if you want to, but here's my question or concern. And they would just respond right away and handle it. So they were really accessible. And I like that. They're the owners of the company. They didn't just have some guy assigned to me. They did it. As far as the evaluation of the practice and essentially figuring out what it's worth, it was a unique situation because the buyer was a personal friend. And it was really important to me no matter what happened during this transaction. And as I told John and Wes from minute one, I don't want to harm a friendship over this. This is a business deal. And it mattered to me a lot. And they were very good about that. And when we sat together and evaluated, figured out what it was worth, they were good at explaining it and acting as a good mediator. I think they did a great job evaluating it. I know that I got a really, looking back, I know that the sale price and terms and everything were very favorable. So I was completely satisfied with the valuation process and how they figured out what used equipment is worth and how they figured out what patients that have been around for a million years are worth and AR and all this other stuff. So it worked out nicely. I just sold my practice and it went really well. And what could have been super stressful, a practice that I had for over 20 years, wasn't. And I would recommend you sit down with them and see if you like them. I did sit down with other folks who I thought were also super nice, but in picking John and Wes, it was the word of mouth recommendations and it was other people's experiences in the past that really did it for me. And it turned out those recommendations were right on the money. They have lots of clients. And when I would go there for a meeting or a call, you could tell it was a busy place. And they have, CPA style clients and they have brokerage clients. But I never felt like I was waiting or I was just a number or just another one of many. In fact, when they needed somebody to figure out, for example, when they needed somebody to figure out the QuickBooks, how to do the QuickBooks and get the right reports out, I sort of could do that. They said, hold on a minute, they brought a guy in who was a QuickBooks expert. And then when they said, hey, we need to figure out something about the legal aspect of this, they brought a lawyer in and he figured it out. So I felt like I wasn't just another number. I felt like they really cared. Maybe it was a really good trick and they just made it seem that way, but I honestly feel like I made a couple of friends there and I hope to maintain contact with John and Wes in the future.